Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let me show you a better way to save important email messages. MacMost is supported by viewers just like you. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content. So all too often I hear of people saving important email messages to special mailboxes or folders inside of the Mail app. I don't think this is the best place to save important emails or even not so important emails that you want to refer to once in a while. A better way to do it is to save them as files. You'll have more control over a file saved to your hard drive than you do to email saved in the Mail app. This is because typically email is caught in between being on your computer and being on the email service that you use. And email services all work a little different. iCloud is a little different than Gmail, is different than Yahoo, is different than your local ISP. And you can choose to get email in different ways. Syncing with the server using something like IMAP or downloading everything using POP. And then your email is only available on your Mac. You can't view it on other devices. And then I hear of people upgrading or changing their email service or changing the app they use and then losing email that they've carefully curated and put in certain places in the Mail app. When I get an important email, I don't keep it in the Mail app. I export it and save it as a file. I have a lot of control over my files. I can organize them in folders. I can put them in the cloud and view them across devices. And I can choose from several different ways of exporting email and save a message in the appropriate way. Let's look at the different ways that you could export email from the Mail app and how easy it is, and then how you can organize your important messages this way rather than inside of Mail. So I have a bunch of examples here for us to look at. From an email with just some basic text information to some emails with complex images and layout, some receipts, and an email with some very important information in a complex layout that you definitely want to save as is. Now there are basically three different ways to export messages from Mail. If you go to File, Save As, you'll see three of those. The first one is Raw Message Source, which sounds like it's really techy and not very useful, but it in fact saves things out in a .eml format, a standard format, and by default that will open back up in Mail and display the email just as it originally looked. It's exactly the same as saving it in a mailbox in Mail and then viewing it again, except you have a separate file that you control that sits on your hard drive instead of buried deep down in some sort of email library. You can also export in rich text format, which will strip out some more complex layout and other elements, and these can be viewed in just about any app that views text. For instance, you can use TextEdit to view these. And third, you've got plain text, which will strip out images and any layout but keep just the basic text information. So if you have a message that just has plain text in it, this is the most compact and most compatible format for you to save out in. Now the fourth option is to go to File and Export as PDF. When you do that you get a PDF file, and that could be opened in Preview or any PDF reader, and will attempt to keep all of the layout and design and images and everything in the email. However, because email uses HTML and HTML prints different than what is seen on the screen, you're not always going to get the same look. As a matter of fact, a lot of important emails come with a different design for printing than for viewing on the screen. So when you go to print it, you see something that looks better on paper. Well, saving as a PDF is actually going to get you that printed version, which may not be what you want. You could also get a PDF by going to File, Print, and then selecting PDF here. The results will more or less be the same as exporting as PDF. So let's look at how this works in practice. Here I have in the Finder my Documents folder, and I have all sorts of folders for organizing all of my stuff. I have some folders that are very useful for storing some of these saved emails. So for instance, I have a saved email folder. Let's go and save this very simple email to that. I could go to File, Save As, and since this is just text I could say plain text, and let me save that to this saved email folder here. I'll just drag that into the location, hit save, and I'll get this email here saved as text. If I double click it, it'll open up in TextEdit and you can see plain text here, just what's in there. So any graphics would have been stripped out, but for this email it's probably fine. The advantages of saving it that way is I could view it very easily without opening it up in Mail again. I don't even have to have Mail running. Now I could also try Save As, but I'm going to change the format to rich text format and I'll save it out. And now I'm going to get an RTF file. When I open that in TextEdit, it looks a little bit nicer. The links are clickable. It's going to keep formatting like bold text and things like that. and the file size really isn't going to be that much larger. So this is probably a better option. Now if I save it out as a raw message source, it's going to save a .eml. Now I don't actually need to go and use that menu command for that. I can just drag and drop. If I drag and drop this over there, it will save out the EML automatically. So now I get an EML file. The EML file, when I double click it, actually opens up in Mail and recreates the email just as I originally saw it. Better yet, it will open up in other email apps as well. So if in the future you're not using Mac Mail at all, maybe you're not even using a Mac, an EML file should still open up in whatever app you're using. For instance, I could open this up in Thunderbird or something. Now let's look at this more complex email here. If I try to save this out as plain text, obviously I'm not going to get very much. If I look at it here, you can see this is what it looks like. If I save it out as rich text format, it will look a little bit nicer. But still nothing like the original email. If I save it out as raw message source or simply drag and drop it, then I'll get this EML file. If I double click on that, it looks exactly like the original. Now I could also go and export as a PDF. And if I do that, I get a PDF file and that will open up in Preview, not in Mail. And in this case, it looks pretty good. But other email messages may not look as good. So you should definitely test when you do an export as PDF to see what the result is. So now you see the different ways you can export from Mail. Organization's the next step. So I have a saved email folder here. That may not be the best way to do it. A better way to do it would be to have folders for important things like, say, receipts. So if I have a receipt like, say, this one here, I can easily drag and drop that in there and I'll get the receipt saved as an EML file. I can open it up whenever I want and view it in Mail. Likewise, I have a travel plans folder, and for this airline itinerary it's useful to drag that out and save that as an EML file. And this may be a good use of exporting as a PDF because then I can open it up easily in anything and view it very quickly with Quick Look even. Now a few things to note. EML seems to be the ideal format for saving email messages. But you run into a problem when trying to view them on your iPhone or iPad. You can't look at those EML files. They just appear as data files and you can't see inside them. However, if you search the iOS App Store, you can find some good apps that will allow you to view EML messages. But this is one good reason to go with PDFs for important things like travel documents because you can easily view them on your iPhone, your iPad, and your Macs. And if you have to forward them to somebody or view them on somebody else's device, it's easy to view a PDF like that. But keep in mind you can store things as EML files and then easily open them up, export them as a PDF if you need to in the future. Also note that you can get a lot better with your organization than the simple example I showed. You could have all sorts of subfolders to save different types of email. You can name the files whatever you want, so that'll help in searching for things and identifying what the message is before you even look at it. You can also use all sorts of other finder tricks such as tags to help organize your email files. This is also great for archiving and backing up these important email messages. You can clearly see that they're backed up. You can easily drag and drop them to an archive drive and see that you have them. So there are a lot of good reasons for adapting this kind of strategy for saving your important emails rather than leaving them in the Mail app. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.